Welcome, fearfully and wonderfully made humans, to another episode of the Holistic Counselor Podcast. It's me, Diana, your host, and a Christian integrative mental health professional and the founder of Through the Valley Therapy. I am so delighted about today's episode because it's one of those moments where you can see how beautifully God aligns our paths with people we're meant to meet. Let me tell you a quick backstory. Back in August, I received an email from Amanda Bassos. Amanda Bassos. I think that's how we say her last name. Bassos, which means glasses in or glass in Spanish. But anyway, someone I've had the pleasure of knowing for quite a while now. She wrote, Diana, meet Terrini Woods, a local provider in private practice here in South Florida who practices from a Christian lens. I know you both will connect deeply. Amanda was spot on. Terrini and I set up a Zoom call, and what started as a simple introduction turned into an hour of real conversation about faith, mental health, and what it means to be women of color in this field. From the start, I knew this was a connection ordained by God. Now, let me tell you a bit about Terrini. She's a mental health professional with over a decade of experience as a therapist, educator, and community coordinator. A graduate of Palm Beach Atlantic University, she integrates her Christian faith with evidence based therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy and emotionally focused therapy. Her passion? Supporting individuals, families, and couples while advocating for mental health awareness in Black and Brown communities. Today, we're diving deep into how her distinct but interconnected experiences have shaped her journey. We'll also discuss a critical question. What changes need to happen in education to better support mental health in Black and Brown communities? Terrinny's insights are powerful, and I know they'll resonate with anyone who's passionate about making a difference in underserved communities. So, without further ado, let's welcome the incredible Terrini Woods to the show. Hey, girl. All right. So, let's start with your personal journey. Okay. Can you just share a little on how and why you became a therapist and why you chose to attend Palm Beach Atlantic University?
Two very different things. Two very different things. So first, my journey to become a therapist, Diana, was my husband and I were doing what they call lay counseling. So that means you don't have any credentials and you're supporting people in therapy. And we were doing it at our church, and I loved it. I loved um the process. I love the process and the intimacy that you got deep with
Yeah.
others. And so time went on. We kept doing that. And one day I thought, I should go to school for this. I
Exactly. Exactly.
wanted to legitimize myself. And how that led me to Palm Beach, Atlantic. Well, first of all, my bachelor's is in learning exceptionalities. So I'm a teacher at heart.
Oh,
In
wow.
fact, my whole paternal side, I think, are almost all teachers, except for my parents who have psychology degrees. That's a whole nother podcast.
Wow.
Yeah. So purely the reason I chose Palm Beach Atlantic will be very different than what those may think because I'm a believer. It was because it was in person and down the street from where I live.
I love it. And the campus is beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
It's a
I was
beautiful
just
campus.
there for a NAMI event and it was so reminiscent. I'm like, I was here walking these halls.
Yeah, it is a
So that's how
beautiful campus.
that's how I got to Palm Beach Atlantic.
Mhm.
There are online opportunities, and I love to ponder with people. I like to see what comes out of someone's mouth and what their body does. And I can't see that online.
No, no, I'm the same way. I don't know how these younger students are doing this online full time. It's even hard to be a therapist online full time, right? I
Yeah.
miss I miss it, but now I'm learning how to do it, like and be okay with it.
Yeah. Oh, I need some tips on that. So, yes, I
Sure. Oh, definitely. So tell me so that's a lay. Can you explain that a little bit more? Because I do know about lay counseling in churches and stuff, and every church
Oh,
has it differently. But I
yeah.
like how you said legitimize because honestly, I have seen some lay counselors actually do more harm than good in churches because they don't understand psychology and then they blame everything on Satan.
Oh, so first of all, thank you. I wanted to make sure we don't want to offend. We want to
No,
be
exactly.
honest.
Yes.
I feel that I both of us, we love to learn. I believe in education. I don't know everything. And there
Nope.
are people that are, thank the Lord, practically smarter than me. They did the work. So I trusted, and remember, I come from a family of educators, so it's so natural. Like there was no, what do you do after high school? It's like, so you're going to what college?
Wow. Well,
It
that's good that
really,
you had that because
yeah,
many of us
and
don't.
I do know it's rare because my husband did not come out the same. So, and I got to grow up in a HBCU, which is a historical Black college family. So that was
Oh,
a whole
wow.
different.
Yes, it is.
I grew up, I am African American Black. I am not Caribbean, even though I try to be in that community because they claim me though. I'm an honorary
I
member of
claim
it.
you too. And I'm only half Caribbean. So it's like,
But I did not know the diverseness of college that
mm,
was not a non-white campus. Isn't that something?
wow. Can,
Wow,
can you
right?
tell me more about that?
I mean, they're Black professors, Black admin, everybody. So I hope this statement keeps you on air. Black, Black, Black. We were
Yeah.
glad Black. It was good Black. It was different. It was intimate. It felt so familiar. It felt so safe to be
Wow.
corrected and learned and challenged to like learn. Like, I'll give you an example. So, my uncle was the head of the biology department by marriage, and he was no hold bars. So, I took a year there, strategically avoided him as a professor because I know how hard he is. So I had it planned and everything. I'm so excited. I'm in class, and who walks in? My uncle. So I'm like, oh, what is he doing here? The professor got sick and he was a replacement.
Oh my. Wow.
Yeah.
Which school did you go to?
Fort
Undergrad.
Valley State. At the time it was college. Now it's Fort Valley State University in Middle Georgia.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so HBCU, there's quite a few. FAMU is one in Florida, correct?
FAMU,
Right.
Bethune,
Okay.
Jackson. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can imagine. I mean, I didn't have that kind of opportunity, right? So it's like I can imagine when you have like-minded or you feel in a safer community of understanding and you're able to speak freely about things without, right? So we're gonna go now to the next question that I really have for you is like, you and I come from different cultural backgrounds,
Yeah.
right? You're
Yes.
you're Black American, I'm Latina American.
Okay.
How have your distinct yet interconnected experience shaped your journey? And what changes do you think need to happen in education to better support our communities when it comes to mental health? Because that's something I noticed right off the bat, like back in the day, right when I was going in my master and I was questioning the DSM and I was questioning the professors and they're just sitting there. And I was questioning leaders at churches because the church that I attended after I got married was predominantly white. And so
Okay.
I always asked questions. And
Mhm.
I've been to Black churches too. So it
Mhm.
was just like, I'm always asking questions, right? That's like the why. Like, why are we like this? Why is this? Where in the Bible? Where in
Mhm.
the DSM? Why are we not taking culture? Why? And so sometimes I got told to shut my mouth and, that
So this
made
is
me
how
want to
you,
speak louder.
I'm gonna give you a hint. So
Yeah.
I'm that continued person in the Black community. I haven't stopped. I even asked for audience with my pastors to go. So I know you might, and I say this, I'm like, you may not agree or ask for my membership, but here I go. So I let them know I'm coming like this. Or my
Yeah.
friends go, when they say, you got a question, and I'm sitting there, they look at me, you don't have nothing?
Right.
So
That's because that's when your brain's pondering.
don't we look? Okay, so whomever sees this, which is, I pray that this goes viral. I just want to let you know that this
Mm,
puts you on that we're sisters, you and I. This is what we do because this is such as you opened up a God connection
yeah.
there. So when I moved from Fort Valley, I moved to Palm Beach County.
Okay.
I graduated in 87. So I started high school in 83, 84.
Hmm.
We were living in it was not the best move. So there was a socioeconomic drop when I moved to Florida. We moved in with my grandma. She lived in an old school, what they call a shotgun house. Do you know what that is?
I can imagine
So,
jealousy windows, jealousy
no,
windows.
so listen, the house was set up that in the South, if someone shot through, it would go straight through the house.
I
So
just
it
saw a
literally was.
show. No. Oh, yes. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I know it's just, I just saw a show and I'm trying to remember what show. And it was about a judge. And
Mhm,
that's what they talked. And that's the first time I ever heard that. The
mhm. So
shock.
my
And
grandma lived in that.
oh
So
my God.
you can just imagine they're not very large.
No.
So then not only that, so a drop in finances,
Mhm.
all now generation living when it wasn't popular.
Right.
And then we were bused to Forest Hill High School.
I've
It
heard of
was a
Forrest.
whole Black community, and then they needed some Blackness at Forest Hill.
Hmm.
And at the time, then all of the non-Black, if I can say white
Yeah.
children, were coming from Wellington at the time.
Oh, and Wellington is it's a very rich neighborhood.
So, and very poor, very rich,
Oh no.
Black, white. What you think?
Yeah. Oh no, it's the same for me in Broward County, Deerfield
Okay.
High. It was the same, Lighthouse Point, and then
Mhm.
right here at Deerfield High, where it was just very, and then I grew up a little bit further away, but yeah.
My family wasn't doing well emotionally. We came
Mm-hmm.
for not the best reasons. It wasn't a career move, I'll just say that.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a sweet friend that wants me to change this statement. Nothing has changed it. I had one glimmer of hope in that high school. Outside of that, I hated every 4 years of it. I
Really?
really did. And I was in the band for 3 years.
What you
Um,
play?
I was on a drill team, flag girl.
Oh, I love that. Yes, yes, yes. Well, now I have to ask, did your high school have rhythm?
The drum section did.
Yeah, okay. I was just no, and I mean by that because I remember Deerfield High and then Ely High School, and Ely would come
I
and
know
kick
Ely.
our butt when it came to challenging the marching band. We were just so like back in the early 80s,
Remember Gloria Estefan, the South
Yes.
album? That was our anthem. So then we got that. We got our brown sisters and brothers rhythm.
I
That
love it.
was that diverse community that was so new to coming from Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
So I got the white culture, his Hispanic
Mm-hmm.
influence that I knew nothing about, and I didn't want to be there. I had no friends because I came back at high school.
Yeah,
They
that's
had
hard.
friends from K through that. I didn't have
Mm-hmm.
any.
Right.
So the education thing you asked, I'm sorry I got on a tangent.
No, this is about us, girl. Like people might listen, they might not, but we're trying to teach. We're real. We're raw, real people. Just because we have some kind of license on our wall doesn't mean we're not real human beings.
Regular.
We're regular with problems too. And I have a therapist as well.
Hello, me too.
Exactly.
So ask me the question again. Help me out.
Yeah, no worries. I'm just wondering what you think about the education system now and
Wow.
or it's not only the education, it might be just, I don't want to nitpick every system. And because I think because we are educated, we do understand that we've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go.
Yes, I agree.
Right.
I
And so, how do we serve our Black and Brown communities
Yeah,
better? Or what do we say to our colleagues that
yeah.
don't come from backgrounds like us?
We got to be in the places that we are not and where we're the minority. We really do for our young children. We have to advocate for them and be uncomfortable and risk being told to sit down to advocate. Like be unapologetically with respect who you are. There's nothing about me I don't like. And
Hmm.
I don't have a problem educating. I had a friend when I first was growing my locks. We played a completely non-black sport, but we played tennis. I love it. And so, and it was the husband I married gave me some come ups. I just say that. So I could play tennis in the daytime. That's a whole nother story. But in Palm Beach County, let's just say.
Yeah.
So, and we played with older, retired, non-Black people. I probably
Mm.
was the only Black person on there. So I said, so this one lady, after we finished, she goes to the court. We're greeting the net. She leans over and says, I love your hair. How do you wash that?
Mm.
Well, it did not faze me because before I had locks, I wondered the same thing. How about that?
Wow.
But my friend was enraged. She was red in the face. And I said, friend, it's okay. Because if you don't ask the question, how will you know?
Exactly.
Something showed up in me that made her comfortable. She didn't ask it rude, and she was older too. So my point with education, we got to be in the places. We got to stay educated. How about that?
Hmm.
And we have to be okay when people ask us things that make us do this.
Right. It's learning. It's that Carl Jung where anything that irritates you, right? Oh, why do I always forget it? It's like my favorite quote, and I can't remember it, but it is. It's like anything that irritates you. It's just like a representation of where you need to heal. That is not it, people. But look it up,
It's
Carl
around.
Jung.
Look it up. Carl.
Carl Jung. But it is. It's like understanding that when we get activated in the system,
Activated. Hmm.
right? We get
Right.
activated. It is figuring out, okay, are we going to blame the other person? Are we going to give our power to the other human because that's what happens? Or do we keep our power and try to figure out how to manage it so then we stay in control and master it?
Do you know I use that word a lot lately?
Which,
Human.
yeah, me too.
Oh, okay. We keep going because we're gonna run because we are so connected. Oh my goodness. Keep going.
I do too, because it's just what's happening in our world, how faith plays out, understanding that we're one in Christ, your
Mhm.
identity in Christ is what actually, to
Mhm.
me, would connect all of us. But I still respect because I had this conversation. What do you think about this? I had
Okay.
this conversation. It was you were there at the parenting
I
conference, right?
was.
And when someone said melting pot, and I said no, I like to say that we're fruit salads.
I love that you said that. I have been feasting literally. I love it. But how do you bring that when that's been the theme of America, the melting pot? So how do you reframe it?
It's just I just say that I'm like I'm not a melting pot. I'm a fruit salad. I'm here with you, but I'm still going to take pride in my culture. That's what the whole point of America I thought was about from the beginning: freedom,
Freedom.
freedom to be us. The life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Too. Hmm.
Okay, and so that's like sometimes we have sour grapes and sometimes we have sweet peaches.
Yeah. Are
I
those funny little fingerling grapes? Have you seen those? They're so they're odd looking, but they're
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah. Oh no, now I'm gonna have to check them out. So seriously, like with your experiences, right? And then you went into Palm Beach Atlantic, which is going to be different than a public college, right? And getting your
Mhm.
master. I went to Nova, so it was
Okay.
private, but it
Mhm.
wasn't faith based at all.
Okay.
And
Mhm.
and so and then did you work in community mental health?
Did I? You ever heard of Jerome Golden Mental Health Hospital that was on 45th Street?
I
It used to be 45th Street Mental Health. It's
Yeah.
closed now. Yeah, I worked there.
Okay. So and so you probably saw some. Did you ever work in the like with teenagers in the mental health or in schools
I
with
did
mental health?
it, yes, because I worked for another agency that went into schools to provide. Yes, I did
Okay.
work with teens.
Did, did you see how things were different, for people like us?
It's interesting. Say I went to school once in Loxahatchee, but north and more west. Okay. So I went there and I was like, the what do you call the things? The curb stops where people park.
Yeah.
The PTA was, I mean, it was like, when is this an elementary? So then I went to one, I'll just say it, Bethune-Cookman. And I'm like, man, this feels so sterile. And like I feel like I walked in, I feel like I was in trouble.
Mm.
So there was such a difference in where in the same Palm Beach County
Mm-hmm.
resources are
Yeah.
different. It's so unfair, and it really is not fair. I don't know how they regulate funds to different schools.
It, and I think that's why things are shifting. I mean, I'm hoping people wake up and they realize because the education system, I loved school. Honestly, Tyranny, like I loved it because I felt loved at school because some people go to school because they're not feeling loved at home.
Hello,
And
yes.
I was one of those.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I loved school. I felt I had purpose. My teachers, everything. I had friends and
Mhm.
so it was a whole different experience because I do know people that hate high school. And I'm like, I absolutely because I felt safe,
Yeah. Well,
you
high
know.
school I didn't care for, but I'm with you from K up, even though I went to two different schools. I loved it. I'm still that nerd that would do the pencil box and what you're wearing when I taught. I'm like, what's my outfit gonna be the first day? And my husband goes, aren't you the teacher? I'm like, yes, but
Oh man. So I want to know a little bit about that emotionally focused therapy.
yeah, so it's definitely really geared to couples, and for unfortunately this year the founder Susan Johnson, who's Canadian, I used to love to listen to her training, passed away. But it really is what you and I are doing, and what I bet you do in your space. Sit with a client and look at, you're gonna love this, the attachment styles.
What do you mean?
So you know that you have the secure, the avoidant, ambivalent,
Mhm.
passive aggressive, or you got the parenting style. This parenting was authoritarian, do as I say. You got the friend parent. You got I believe just from talking to you and listening, or it's an evolution of we desire to be those authoritative where let's talk about it, even knowing we're the final say, but I want to hear your input.
Mhm.
Those impact how we relation. You know what causes us to pull back, withdraw, go after. You said school was where you were loved. A lot of times in emotional focus, we are drawn to something that may have been a deficit.
Mm.
And we think we're not marrying our mom or dad. And then you look like, man, there's some resemblance of that, especially when we haven't done our work.
Oh,
I know.
speak on that more, please. What does that mean when we
Oh, you
haven't
about to
done
get me in
our
trouble.
work?
So, Diana, since we already have been talking about this, the work is vulnerability. Humans are human, so they're not perfect. Saying what your expectations as believers, followers of Christ, grace, mercy. This is
Mm.
my new mantra. So I hope people join me in it. I'm doing this study with Lisa Turquez on
Yeah.
forgiving what you can't forget. So in the line, she said, they asked, when should you forgive? Right now. And the prayer is, Lord, help me forgive before I'm offended. Because I am a sensitive bird. I'm so sensitive.
Mm.
So can I tell you something I've been doing?
Mm. What?
So remember when you had babies and they were learning to potty train, and sometimes everybody didn't flush after, and you go,
Yes.
"Oh my goodness, really?" The
Well, it was different in my house, Tyranny,
oh, tell
because
me.
it was if it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down.
Okay. Yeah, we did that too. But then tyranny is a little, I don't want to see nothing but the porcelain
The
whiteness.
clear, the clear.
But I tried. Well, it's so if the brown, I'm like, oh my gosh. So this is me. Before I open it up, I go, I forgive before I'm offended. And then nothing's there, like, or this, Diana.
Mm.
Can I be as nice to my family as I am to the people in the grocery store?
Oof. Oof. Or in our work, because think about what we
Man,
do,
man,
Tyranny. What do we do?
we're phony.
Oh,
We put on a facade. Let me take that back. Because sometimes you have to be in a presence to do your work.
mm-hmm.
So I don't want to say phony.
Right.
That could be pinching.
It's a part of us. Like,
It's a
that's
part.
why I like Dr. Richard Schwartz work, internal family systems, because we
Oh,
all have all these parts of us. And then when you really figure that out, like, yeah, I can compartmentalize when I need to be a therapist and professional or speak in front of a crowd. I get that. I put on that suit I'm so uncomfortable because that ain't the real me, right? Like
So
right now, I got makeup on. That's not the real, and a bra. That ain't the real me.
love it.
but but it is. It is a part of us, and that's the. I love the grace and the forgiveness that you're talking about. What was the name of the
Forgetting what you can't forgive. Wait,
Wow.
no,
Wait,
no, that's wrong. Wait, give me a minute. It is,
this happens when you get over a certain age, people.
ma'am, really?
I'm sorry if I'm like laughing and blasting
I
people's
love it.
ears out.
Forget because I think I say it backwards because people are like, how are you gonna forgive or hurt?
Mm.
Forgiving what you can't forget.
Oh,
So
oh,
she
that's heavy.
acknowledges hurts don't go anywhere.
Mm-mm.
You know what I use in my couples thing?
Hmm.
Because man, I really do need some guidance on when you do it virtual. Because sometimes they are like you're trying to jump in there.
I don't do couples at
Presence.
all.
Oh,
I'm individual only. I wouldn't even, after a while, I was like, I would tell the parents straight up, I am your kid's therapist. I'm not yours.
go ahead on, sis. I love that. I love
So I don't take adolescents either anymore, just adults,
I'm
individual.
about ready to. Anyway, here I say, Les,
Mm-hmm.
with all people, words out of our mouths are sharpies on our brains. You can't erase it.
Wow. Say that again. That's powerful.
When we speak words
Mm-hmm.
out of our mouths, they form into Sharpie markers and imprint themselves on our brain.
Mm-hmm.
That cannot be, even with when an apology follows, a genuine one,
Mm-hmm.
a heartfelt one is still there. And that's the forgiving what you can't forget.
Yeah. Forgiving what you can't forget. And sometimes it's a process to reframe it because that's the thing.
Oh,
Like you don't forget it, but it's still traveling in your body and activating you and controlling you and mastering you. And that's the and this is something I've been saying a lot lately too. And I'm like, yeah, because the more I'm by myself pondering and praying, it's like I realize us humans live either the ego slash the flesh, ego psychology, flesh, spiritual side of things,
mhm.
right? Ego or flesh, or we live in the humility or spirit. And those are the two choices you get to do every day.
And choices we can
Choices.
do when our minds are working well. Someone told me this, it could have been you. Did you tell me? I heard it recently. Ego stands for edging God out.
No, but I'll take credit. No, just kidding.
I think it was
No,
one of
no.
my mom figures. I know,
Yeah.
Mama D. And I
Mm.
said, I like that.
Yeah, for
Edge
sure.
God out. Hmm.
Yeah, edging God out. And it is true. It is. I saw that. No, it might have been on one of Lisa's podcasts because she has therapy and
Oh
theology
yeah.
podcasts.
Yes, she does. I just found that. Yeah, one of
Yeah.
my friends showed me about it.
And
What
I
is it?
think,
Therapy and theology? What is it?
yeah, I
Okay.
think it is. And she's
It's
with her
good.
actual therapist that helped her through
Yeah.
her divorce.
Mm-hmm. He's
Right.
good. He's
Yeah. I learned quite a few things. And I actually use a lot of YouTube's podcasts because a lot of my clients that come to me like to have homework. They're like, and they know that.
mm-hmm.
So that's what I use worksheets, a whole bunch of things,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. And I hand it over, I send it to them and I'm like, all right, that's something for you to do for the week. Take
I
some
love
notes and we'll discuss it.
so speaking of YouTube, have you
Mhm.
and giving homework? I gave someone this funny homework. You
Mhm.
ever heard of the tiger breath?
No. What is that? Is that like a breath work?
Uh-huh. So, but in yoga, you do it, and I didn't think of this because I like yoga. But in the instructions, it
Mhm.
says you get on all fours and you do this. So I'm gonna turn away not to do this in your face. You
Okay.
go.
Oh,
Well, in my class, we used to do it all the time. I loved it.
yeah.
So I was giving it to a client that happened to be a male. And he said, I'm not doing that. So I found the box breath. He
Oh,
said,
yeah.
I'll do that
Yeah.
with that tiger thing. So I said, he goes, it's the all fours for me.
Yeah. No, now I remembered. Yeah, when I took yoga classes, I thought it was going to be like Tiger Woods or something. I don't know what I was
Tiger breath.
thinking.
You
Like,
know, you make that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's powerful because think about what you're doing. you're activating the vagus nerve, the
Oh,
parasympathetic nerve to calm and rest and
hello.
digest. So
Mhm.
all these things, like these practices from other places, that's another thing I realized being a Christian therapist is that some people are like really against certain modalities that I use. And it's not that
Oh,
I'm using the religion, like say traditional Chinese medicine or
okay.
Ayurvedic medicine, like
Okay.
their concepts of things. It's very powerful, and they've been around for thousands and thousands before the thousands of years. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
it's not. I'm not worshiping anything. I'm taking parts, modalities of certain things that have worked
Have worked.
and incorporating it because every human being has different biology,
Mhm.
psychology, and theology. I know I'm so repetitive, people. All my listeners that listen to me, I say that all the time, but it's
Yeah.
true. It's like
True.
realizing, right, that you are an individual person, but we're also tribal. We need to have our
Oh,
tribe.
yes. Yes. And why would we, my word, segregate? Because you missing out on the that thing. We're missing out when we could be that fruit salad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, it's so yummy with poppy seeds and strawberries and cantaloupes and pumpkin seeds and walnuts and
Yeah.
whatever the seasonal fruit is in,
True.
even though I do like a stew.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to the fruit salad thought process because I think people react with strong emotion because of
Oh,
pain,
okay.
right?
Okay.
Right? Does that make sense? They react. And they want to be heard. And I think that's why so many things rose up in 2020.
Okay.
Right. I mean, and I'm talking about like between the races and stuff.
Yes. Okay.
And that's a hard word to say for me because back in the day when I took classes at TCC, like in the early 90s, I took a race and minority class. And then they're like, that's a social construct, the word race and why it was constructed to keep people apart. And then I learned about media back then. And I'm like, that makes sense because
Okay.
it's really one human race. We might have different ethnicities and,
Ethnicities,
and
yes.
backgrounds and beautiful colors because I always use the words of like vanilla, strawberry, caramel, cinnamon,
Oh,
um,
I like that. I'm going to be using it.
good. Because honestly, to me, it's just like I see you. I see who you are. I don't like the color blindness thing. Like, I'm colorblind. I don't see. And I'm like, no, you got to be honest, right? What do you think? You
Mhm.
just made that face. What came to your head? What came to your head?
Start reading me. What I wonder with that. I've heard that so much
Mhm.
in vanilla spaces. Like, and guess what? Because I didn't feel comfortable and I was new to knowing who I was,
Mhm.
I said, "Oh, I like that." And then as I grew into me, I'm like, "No, I don't want to not be. We
Right.
are not all the same. We are
Exactly.
cinnamon. Ooh,
Mhm.
we are nutmeg. We are
Yeah.
cayenne. We are terracotta. We are all of that." And that's so wonderful. Yay.
Right.
Why
Let's
is,
celebrate it.
yeah, so it came across a little offensive when why do you want to stand out? And I'm like, not trying to stand out, trying to stand in me.
Mhm.
So I don't, it's a struggle still for me in some spaces.
It is. It is. I think I told you next week, next Friday, I'm going to be one of the last speakers, and they're having me speak in front of, I don't know how many will show up, but it's a
Was
see.
that your
It's
trip?
That's my trip to North Carolina for the Wise Practice Summit. And it's about 100 private practice owners from across the country coming, and I'm going to talk about cultural competency. I have
Oh,
been working on it for 2 weeks straight. I have worksheets, I have PDFs, I have so much. And I'm like praying, I'm like, God, I'm not here to offend.
mm-hmm.
I don't want to offend, but people will be offended
Mm-hmm.
because,
Because the word does. Hold on, sorry about
mm-hmm. And so it's just, like all these different, the research I've done, my personal experiences, what I've seen, because
that. Mm.
most of my career was in the Broward County alternative school systems.
You told me that.
And so the things that I saw, and then I am a product of the Broward County school system. So you know, from sixth grade on. I came from New York.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
What, you know, alternative schools is a whole nother thing we should do.
Yeah. Well, we have time. What do you mean by that?
So one of the things about me I didn't put in there is I just am on this journey, which I'm loving, of restorative justice. Did I talk to you about that?
No, what's that mean?
So restorative justice is change,
Mm-hmm.
change is coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's doing things instead of punitively, like suspension, isolation, criminalization, and going that route, which I do know people strongly believe that there are some things that that's it, right?
Yeah.
Restorative justice is looking at how to, what the word is saying, repair the harm. So the terminology is the person that harmed, the person that caused harm, who
Mm-hmm.
affected that. And in the K through 12, which there are conversations that that age group, especially in people that are cinnamon brown, cayenne, vanilla bean color,
Mm-hmm.
is a pipeline to prison.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of suspending, we will, with the teachers, the students, whatever the harmed persons, all who were impacted by that, guess where they come, Diana?
Mm.
To a circle,
Wow.
heal, and talk about it. I am a facilitator of those
I
things.
love that. Tyranny, listen, I that was probably one of the biggest frustrations is like why I used to do group therapy at the for my first but at the other alternative school that I worked at when I came back to this industry of being a therapist, I always wondered, and I know about the school to prison pipeline. I studied it. I was just, and I that's what I would tell my individuals that come in out of DJJ, Department of Juvenile Justice. And
Yep.
I'm like, all
Yep.
right, you guys, like, listen, second grade, here's the record. But, I'm like, I'm here to help you. But you have, like, what do you need? Well, I
Yes.
realized a lot of them had so much trauma,
Oh, ma'am, come on. Yes.
so much trauma. And I'm sitting there like, and nobody's asking. The psychiatrist doesn't give a crap about
Oh,
that.
don't
The,
even wake that up.
and
Oh,
then,
I'm sorry.
no, seriously. Or the worst is like the, the whole family has so much trauma that they don't even know where to start, and that's just the norm. Like you don't know it's not normal until someone teaches you this is not healthy. But where do
Spare
you
the
go?
rod conversation. Remember, I called you about the spare the rod conversation, and I tried
Mhm.
to be grown up and use what y'all taught me. And my client sat me down. I went, okay, I need to go back and get some more tools.
It is a hard place because that's the cultural difference
That's the
that
culture. Yeah.
many do not understand.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
and I do understand where some vanillas love to say that, well, I was poor too, and I get it. There were, like, I remember living in these inner city urban neighborhoods that I kind of grew up in, and sometimes, and it's true. Like they didn't have anything either, but that's because they didn't have the education as well.
Georgia too. Trailer parks with no water in. Man, both of us. We just you in the north. I was in the south.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're right. You're
But,
right. We
but the
know that.
majority of the people in these areas were people of color. And so it's just having these conversations, and I'm trying to get people to understand. Like, and when I try to talk about these situations with some of my um, white friends, they become so defensive, and you could tell right away that I can't. And I have learned you've got to take the step back and be like, all right, Lord, they're yours. I got to, because you're not going to get it, or they're like, that's the. I literally have. Listen, I want you to hear.
Uh-oh. Okay. I'm ready. Go,
You
go.
ready? These are
Yes.
these are statements that it's called challenging common statements, fostering understanding and healing. Okay. These are the things that I've heard.
Okay.
And then I was like, I'm going to make a whole PDF on this to bring to my CEU, right? That
Oh,
I'm
okay.
teaching. Yeah. I wasn't responsible for slavery or racism.
I'm gonna try to have a regular face. I just want
I
to.
want you to just because what I did is wrote the statement.
Okay.
And then I wrote an understanding the statements like psychologically of why someone would say that. And then I wrote the challenge and the response for somebody to get them to
Okay.
really understand. It's not that I'm trying to divide, because if anyone knows me personally, I'm about unity. And that's why I'm thinking like you and I and others like us are trying to have these conversations in safe spaces
Yeah.
without people beating up each other, calling each other name, or believing, honestly, believing what they're seeing in the media, because the media is purposely throwing so much out there because fear controls the brain.
You should share what you told me about fear, those two different perspectives.
Oh, all right. So what I like to say is that, we come in with a lot of false evidence appearing real, right? Fear, FEAR, false evidence appearing real. But as you go through therapy, especially with people like me and Tyranny, then you go into the face everything and rise. And
Yeah.
we try to teach you how to face everything and rise in healthy ways, because some people think face everything and rise means like I have to now go over you.
That's true. Yeah, we come across that.
I see it. I mean, like so I say, I sit back and I take my notes and I do a lot of praying. Now I understand why the word says pray without ceasing. I get it now.
Go ahead, sis.
so so these statements, like, get over it already, that was in the past,
Mm-hmm.
right? Talking about race all the time just divides people. Why should I feel guilty? I didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Reverse racism is just as bad as any other racism.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
you know but this is the understanding the statement
Okay.
equates individual prejudice with systemic racism, right?
Mm,
And the
right.
challenge and the response is racism involves systemic power. While any form of prejudice is wrong, systemic racism has broader societal impacts that reverse racism does not.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah.
You see, and so it's about learning and being open, and
Mm-hmm.
when you get defensive, and I could get defensive too because I have to know my bias. I have biases. Ask my husband. He's like, you sound a little racist against white men. Well, by the way, he's a white man.
I met him. That's
he looks
what.
like he looks like the Marlboro man or something back in the day. But
He's
but it
rather debonair. He's rather.
I thank you. But that's the thing, is like having these conversations. He's taught me, I've taught him. We had to teach our son, because think about it, multicultural, one child.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, think
So,
about this. I'm married to a retired officer, so that's a whole nother culture.
oh my gosh,
He's a
yes.
Marine. That's a culture. And I have a son that's Black who went to a very, I must say, I'm so happy at the high school that he was able to attend a public choice school, Dreyfus. He plays the saxophone.
Oh, it's the artist school. I know
Hmm.
Dreyfus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of times he would go in Palm Beach because they would do stuff over there. And I remember driving him and I would say, I hear another word, I'm gonna say strong. I detest avoid having this conversation with him, but I felt obligated. So, son, remember you're Black over here in Palm Beach. And one day I said it to my group of vanilla Bible study ladies,
Hmm.
and one said, "Oh, I know the blah blah over there. If he ever runs into a problem," I said, "Man, we don't want to get that far."
No, because you don't know who you're dealing with.
Yeah, I said, and I remember driving away. They don't get it. Like I feel Tyranny, Monique Woods, wherever I go, I'm a majority Black person there because I love doing things. The
Hmm.
world allows me to. Why can't I? So I go
Exactly.
places. And I said, you know what, y'all? Everywhere I show up, I know I'm a Black woman. I
Hmm.
feel I know I could go in the nicest people. And I think there is evidence of generational trauma that's in the earth that
Mm.
reverberates.
Hmm.
And empathic persons, not even wanting to, we feel deeply. I can't
Yes.
tell you how many times I'm like, Lord, I don't want to feel.
Oh, I'm with you.
He's like, major already.
Yeah. I'm like, how many more years do I have to continue to be on? It's an on. It's like an antenna that you pick it all up, no matter if it's good or bad, happy, sad, angry, all of it, right? That's what makes us great therapists, but we also have to learn how to process and let it go.
That's why we need to go to that 5 element spot that y'all talked about into.
Yeah. All right. It's a
Right?
date.
We need
When
to
I
do
come back, when I come back.
intentional. Here's something that our Black and brown people have
Mm.
not. I really want to be vanilla, cinnamon, and cayenne from now on in my life. We don't talk about self-care.
No.
Like if I say my friends, oh, I can't do that. That's my spa day.
Yeah.
Okay, Booge. Yep, I am Booge, y'all. What you want to call me? That's me. I'm going to get these things rubbed out of my body.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get pampered. We work really hard, you know?
Yeah.
That's a
Well,
thing to teach.
that's an intergenerational thing too, because I think it's if you understand just the history, like first of all, history of Black American, history of immigrants,
Mhm.
right? I'm second, my mom's from a different country, right? And my dad's from Puerto Rico, and I'm still trying to figure out is that its own country or is that a part of the United States? I think it's its own culture. It is.
It is that. That
It
is
is its
true.
own
That
culture,
is that.
right? But we still have like rights in Puerto Rico, but we're not a state. So I'm been confused about that most of my life. But I know I'm a proud Boricua, part of half of me, because the other half
Oh,
I have to be proud too. But it is understanding that that's the systemic thing that happens, right? Because it you're taught by a village of how to be, and that's all you actually know until you realize someone mentors you, someone that comes out of that area that's not from that part, just and you're like, wait, there's a better way. I didn't know that there's a better way. There's a
Yeah.
better way. And so then you try to teach the family, because that's a big thing that's happening in my therapy practice. Is like a lot of kids are going, oh my gosh, now I have to grieve this childhood, and I'm trying to teach my mom or teach my dad or teach my aunt or uncle or grandpa. Like that's, setting the boundaries, and
Mm.
they're stuck in the trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, that's good, Diana. Here's one thing though, I wonder. Tell me what you think about this.
Hmm.
How much of it is our work? Because it's a big work.
What we do, you
Big
mean?
level. The reframing of this traumatic impact for persons that are sitting across from us that want to do different.
Mm.
I'm a firstborn, so that's a whole nother
Yes. The
thing.
oldest? Hmm.
Oldest, and it's a big gap between me and my siblings, 8 and 7 years.
Oh,
So I'm
wow.
also kind of mummified,
Hmm.
parentified. My
Parentified, yeah.
parents worked, so it was not a babysitter. What you go and
Hmm.
do?
Hmm. And if you
So
don't, you get a butt whooping.
yeah, or things taken away, or
Hmm.
just yelled at.
Hmm.
The expectation was unrealistic,
Yeah.
really, for a 7 year old. It looking back now,
Right.
but when they're sitting in front of me, and I'm like, man, I see the solution. I see it.
Mm.
They don't see it because they're really buried deep.
Hmm.
I have to be able to wait on them
Mm.
to their feel comfortable enough, safe enough, trusting enough
Mm.
to consider what I'm giving them.
Hmm.
So I'm still a stranger. Yeah, this therapy thing. You look like me and you sound like my grandma, my auntie, my mom, my sister. But yeah, this still is a vanilla thing. Therapy is for the vanillas.
Mm. Yes. You've heard that numerous times, right?
Yeah.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time.
All the
That they don't
time.
trust it. They don't trust that system. And I don't blame them, because I have seen some horror in our career, like in
Damn,
the
the
therapy space.
DSM.
Ooh, girl, if we
Wait,
bring that up, I don't
wait,
want.
the ordination, the original thing of psychology. I
Mm.
taught the intro to psych. So I put all of the fathers on the board and I
Mm-hmm.
go, so tell me what you see.
Mm.
Old vanilla men.
Mm-hmm.
Two dichotomies that didn't even consider us. Like someone was telling me, like it took a minute in this century, the 19th century, for women to even have their own bank accounts.
Or own property in the 70s, or just a bunch
In
of
the
stuff.
70s,
Yes.
them the founders of this, our platform where we are
Mm-hmm.
we're healthy,
Yeah.
some roots.
Well, and that's the challenge.
That's the
That was
challenge.
one of the challenges I remember at Nova, and I forget what professor. And I'm just like, I was looking in the beginning, I'm like, who create, the authors, right? I was new, and I'm sitting there looking, and I'm going, man, this was like a man. This is okay. No, wait, what? And they're all like names that are not from our people, right? And I'm sitting there, and they were like from Europe or wherever it is, a
Definitely,
DSM.
definitely.
And then I'm like, why are we on number 4? It's like, why? Well, now we're on five TR or whatever, and the sixth one will come with new things and everything. And I get it. I understand we kind of need some kind of boundary. But what happens, what I've learned, you need to listen to the episode with Dr. Roger McFillin. He
Okay,
calls
I'll
it
do that.
all out. He
Oh,
calls
okay.
episode 18.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because he really calls out the pharmaceutical companies and the DSM.
Can I tell you something that happened to me now that I know better?
Mm.
At Jerome Golden, way, way before the pandemic, pharmacies, you would do these lavish lunches for us. Well, I'm in grad school, free lunch, free lunch.
Hmm.
And I'm like, why they always bring in free? No one told me because I was a group leader. So I
Oh,
was there on the bottom of the totem pole. And now looking back, I'm like, they just selling their stuff. Oh
yeah. But we're
my
the only, this country, and I think it's Australia, that are allowed to have commercials with pharmaceuticals. Most countries don't have that, our problem. And then we're the sickest country but we have the most money. I don't understand it. Like, not the most money, because that might be Saudi Arabia, but with their oil. But I'm thinking about, we're the ones who have we're America. It's a
resources,
beautiful
resources.
country.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
And
why? We're the sickest country too, with the highest anxiety, depression, suicide, diabetes. I mean, we could just keep going and going with what's happening, but we have all the medications.
with
Why are
all
we?
the little side effects that they spill off really quick at the end of the commercial, like,
Yeah, yeah. And I don't want to guilt or shame anyone that's taking whatever they're
sure.
taking. You know what I mean? I get it, but I want you to understand there are better ways too. And it's just because we are not educated. They just had this past Monday in Washington a
Okay.
bunch of functional integrative doctors
Ooh,
and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., all these people talking about big pharmaceuticals and the food, how they're poisoning our foods and everything, because a lot of people that are in that underground movement and the grassroots movement, and the way I think too, because I am a holistic integrative therapist and I studied a lot of nutrition and just my own personal walk
yeah,
of
yeah.
health. I
Yes.
realized, like, I didn't know this. I had no idea there was a better way than just operations and medications.
Why would you? And what about concrete deserts? What
Mm,
about that? I grew
yes.
up where my mom lives. There's no grocery store.
Yeah. Food
Oh, see, my mom
deserts.
is older. Thank goodness she has us. We can pick
Yeah.
up fruits and vegetables. But even
Yeah.
in Florida, that's a cultural, agricultural place. It's concrete deserts.
Mm-hmm. Food deserts. That's what you're talking about, where you can't get anything at all except for the one Walmart right inside, maybe if you're lucky.
What's close to my mom? Publix. I don't work for them nor Walmart. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It can
Oh,
be sometimes challenging financially to get
yes.
things.
But this is why you, like, if you're listening and you are like, oh, it's easy for you to, you have master's degrees and you're making money. Well, we're not making that much money because what we actually do is about the heart more than than the dollar, obviously.
We just
But
happen to look really good doing it.
yeah. Well, we take care of ourselves. Well,
Take
we've
care of
learned,
ourselves.
we've learned the things, right? But
Hmm.
getting the person to understand it isn't, there's free natural things that God has given us, right?
Hmm.
Sunshine, movement, water. I mean, you have to pay for water, but you know what I mean by that. Like hydration. You don't have
Hydrate.
to get the
Yes.
juices. It's like we've been brainwashed by propaganda for so long with unhealthy foods in the commercials. And that's what breaks my heart too, when I remember like going back to where I lived or just seeing like where I come from. And I'm like, there's a better way than eating McDonald's. And I get it. It's very addicting. I was addicted to Burger King.
McDonald's used to be our family going out thing. Can you believe that? Like
But
going out to dinner was McDonald's.
yeah, well, and back then the ingredients were different. All these fast food companies have shortcuts
Have-
now. And you know
Ah,
what it does to your mental health,
mm,
Tyranny? Like think about when you don't eat right, you don't feel right.
you
And if you
don't.
don't and if you don't feel right, there goes your, food and mood.
And then that goes back to the kids
Mm,
struggling. They're
yes.
hungry, and what we're
Yes.
giving them is processed foods.
Yes. And then guess what? That's the one that's diagnosed with ADHD because no one is realizing at home they might be getting the beat down or neglect or
Neglect.
not the healthy foods, or they're thirsty, they're hungry, they're not sleeping well, especially now with the phones. But then we're going to come to school and get medicated and you're irritable. So you're going to punch the kid in the face and then you get in trouble. And there's the first thing that happens on your record. And
Punitive, not
yes,
restorative.
and then the next, but I know the frustration because sure, Diana and Tyranny, you have these answers, but how much money is that going to cost? How much time?
Oh, I
We have to
hear
hurry up,
it.
right? We have to hurry up and put those kids in the system too. Like we gotta, it's like we have to train them to read and
Ah,
read, write, and arithmetic. But a lot of the other stuff is fluff. Can you imagine if we changed the schools and it was like reading is fundamental. I loved Frederick Douglass's statement of like when you learn to read you'll be forever free.
that's true. And you can go anywhere you want to for free. How about that? If you can.
Yeah, because reading is like, but when you don't feel good and you're not feeling right and you don't understand and you're a little child, we try to blame these next generations, but who raised them?
Come on, sis. That's what I'm saying. Why y'all, they have parents
Yeah, and it's like
who raised that parent. And
right.
what about the parent and the child ratio of time is not that far apart in some
No,
space.
yeah, no.
Elemental and actually.
Right. And it's just like not knowing. I do. I remember some of these girls being pregnant in the school and they had their baby and because it was an alternative school. So they're trying to get their GED and stuff. And you just see them like they're they're teenagers and they're frustrated and they're on the cell phone with the baby and the baby acts up and then it's like slapping him to shut him up. And I'm like, the baby needs something, sweetie. Can I help? Can I hold your baby? Like but
Ooh, yes.
it's
Oh my God.
education. You know what, Tyranny? We could talk all day. We could talk all day. But you know what I think we need to do? You and I, we should start a class together and go around different places and just speak and teach and love and understand because I sometimes think I could have been stuck in one of those places,
Hmm, hmm,
like where people feel that they are, like
hmm.
in a neighborhood or something like that. And it's like, it's just changing one thing at a time.
The starfish. You know about the starfish poem.
Yeah, tell me about it. I do, but I want my listeners to
But
know.
really quickly, the little boy or a little person is on the beach, and this adult comes and said, "What are you doing?" "I'm saving a life." And the adult goes, "You cannot save all of these." And the little person picks up one and says, "But this one I can." And throws
Yes.
one, the power of one. Even
Mm.
one of our presidents, that was their running thing, the power of one.
Now
You,
imagine.
you, my dear, are doing it with this podcast.
Well, hopefully it's more than one listener, but if it is only one, I love you.
I meant one you. It's going to be a million listeners
I
because I
love
already done prayed it. The Lord has looked at this.
Oh, Tyranny. All right. So as we end this podcast, I just have this one question. Like, are you going to start yours?
Oh, you are so
Sneaky.
affirming. I did not expect that. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna work on it. That's 2025.
Yes.
Now that
Yes.
now that we're friends, and we didn't even get to the quality friendship and all the other
I
20
know. I
questions I
was
asked you.
wanting to talk about that too, but this was really good. This is
I'll
good.
Well, I think this is important for people to understand in this space as well, because, there's interns that will be listening to this.
Mhm.
There's hopefully after I speak, somebody will listen to this, and understand like, oh, okay, like it's just learning how to have communication and ask questions respectfully, right?
Yes, I agree.
You know,
100. 100.
right.
Thank
And
you.
learn not to take things personally. That's the thing.
100%.
That's why people react like that when they feel uncomfortable and when you're being challenged. Like, really, it's just understanding why you feel the way you feel. You see the world the way you are, not the way it really is.
And how you experienced it up to
Hmm.
that point.
Yeah, exactly. And we all have the right to be like validation, love, like you were saying, safety, validation, love, respect,
Seen,
communication.
being seen. I
Yep.
see you.
Hmm.
I see you. I
Yeah.
see you.
That's right. So, how do people find you if they want to hire you as a therapist in Florida or as a speaker or whatever?
Yes, I will definitely. It's so easy. So I know you typed up our information. My email is my name. And don't forget the M. So it's Terrini Woods.
Okay.
So definitely, because if it just goes to Terrini Woods, I have no idea who that is, but I know who
Okay.
Terrini Woods is at
Yeah.
Gmail. That's me.
Okay.
And I have some social posts that I'm sure you'll pop in there.
Yeah. Your social media.
Is my name and
Okay.
our counseling spa therapist.
I love that. We're going to have to talk more about that too.
I love it too. I
Uh,
told you I'm bouge.
no, it's, self care is like that oxygen tank. We got to put it on ourselves before we try to help everybody else, honestly. We're no guilt or shame about it.
So Diana, thank
Mhm.
you. I really pray for your upcoming event, this
Thank you.
podcast going viral. I'm excited for who's going to be next so I can watch and learn. And just thank you for today.
No, thank you for coming on and being willing to be raw and real and
Thank
relational. All right. So, listener, don't forget to trust in the Lord, guard your heart, and renew your mind. Bye. And now for the disclaimer to make sure you understand that you are responsible for you. The content provided on the Holistic Counselor podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified mental health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical or mental condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. The views expressed on this podcast are my personal opinions and do not represent the views of any professional organizations with which I am affiliated. Call your doctor, 911, or 988 immediately if you have a medical emergency. The Holistic Counselor podcast does not recommend or endorse any specific tests, physicians, products, procedures, opinions, or other information that may be mentioned on the podcast. Reliance on any information provided by the Holistic Counselor podcast, guests appearing on the podcast at the invitation of the Holistic Counselor podcast, or other listeners to the podcast is solely at your own risk. Confidentiality notice. If you engage with the Holistic Counselor podcast by commenting or posting and are a client, please be aware that you may be revealing information that could compromise your confidentiality. Please remember that disclosing your identity or personal details can be linked to your clinical material. As a therapist, I am bound by confidentiality and will not respond to any disclosures of this type on this podcast. I am committed to upholding the ethics and confidentiality of the therapeutic relationship, which extends to all forms of communication in accordance with the laws and professional guidelines that govern mental health professionals. I want you to know that your privacy is of utmost importance, and you are responsible for protecting it when interacting on this platform or any other public forum. Thank you.